Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Laura Stanley, and I'm a senior content writer at Charity Digital. I'll be your host today, and I would like to give you all a very warm welcome to today's session. I hope it's lovely and bright where you are. I've actually got a nice bright day in London. So yeah, I hope it continues. Please do introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from today. I'll start with a quick introduction to Charity Digital, in case you don't know who we are. So we are a registered UK charity, and our mission is to help other charities increase their impact by being more digital. And a big part of how we do that is through our content, so through articles, podcasts, and webinars just like today. Today's session is called From Legacy to Leading, How to Switch to a New Finance System Stress-Free. And it'll be hosted by Andrew Faulkner, Senior Business Development Manager at AccountsIQ. Andrew will cover, among other things, how to enhance and simplify financial reporting, how automation can save you time and what can be automated, and how to ensure the implementation process of a new system runs really smoothly, avoiding all the common pitfalls. We know that choosing new platforms can feel really daunting, and it can cause disruption. So today it's about learning a better way to do it, giving your financial team more flexibility and a lot less stress. So now, just before handing over to Andrew, I just wanted to share a few house rules and pointers for today's session. The session is being recorded and will be uploaded to watch on demand within a week's time. Any slides that are shared together with any resources will also be made available to you, so don't worry if you've missed anything. Closed captions are also available for today's session. To enable these, in the bottom of the Zoom window, click the up arrow button, and next to the closed caption, show subtitle, and then show subtitle. During the webinar, please ask lots of questions in the Q&A section, which is located on the Zoom menu bar. We can address those at the end of the presentation. If someone asks a question that really resonates with you, just click on the thumbs up icon and it will upvote it, and we'll know that it's one that we definitely need to get to. Finally, if you encounter any sound or image issues, please let us know in the chat and we'll do our very best to get the session back to normal as soon as we can. So without any further ado, let me hand over to Andrew.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share my screen here now. Bear with me 1 second, make sure I'm sharing the right screen. And can we see that there, everyone?
Yeah,
perfect.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome to today's webinar. Appreciate you all joining at lunchtime. So we'll try not to run for the full hour. As you all know, you're here to just talk about how to make switching a finance system as stress-free as possible. Quick introduction to myself. Who am I? My name's Andrew Faulkner. I'm the Senior Charity Lead here at AccountsIQ. Been with the business about 4.5 years. Previous kind of broad experience in industry before that. But I suppose from a charities perspective, sort of on a very personal level, my family and myself, we've always been involved in charities, whether they're true charities, true sports clubs, so not-for-profits, etc. And my parents, who both retired now, are actively in that space as well. My father in particular runs a charity here in Dublin, where I happen to be based. Since joining AccountsIQ, I've been very much kind of focused on that charity space. So originally I would have joined as an implementation expert. So if you were to sign with us or a similar sort of company, I'd be one of those people who brings you through that implementation project. And then I moved over to sales, and I obviously continued that interest in the charity sector. So just a quick agenda for today. Just got to kind of clarify, sorry, the typo in that one, clarity, not on your requirements. So looking at your requirements as an organization, how to go about potential things you may not have thought about when selecting a new finance system, what the implementation typically looks like going through that, and what ultimately does success look like on it. So clarity on your requirements. Charities are pretty quite simple in terms of the actual finance side of it, but they can also be extremely complex as well. Unlike a commercial business, as all of you on the call know today, where you might have just an owner, or maybe there's a couple of owners at the top. In a charity, there's a lot more people you have to kind of have responsibility to. And whether they're your donors, your funders, etc., there's a lot that needs to be kind of taken into consideration in how you operate on a day-to-day basis, and then ultimately how you report and make sure you're doing right by your charitable goods, but also adhering to kind of all those regulations that are out there in your sector. So when you look at this quick little wheel we have here, excuse me, just to kind of bring your focus to some of those stakeholders you might have in your own charities. You've got obviously your volunteers, you've got your own paid staff, you've got your donors, the suppliers that are giving you goods, services into the organization. Who are the beneficiaries of your charitable activities? Are they local community? Are the beneficiaries local community in the local community, or you just operate in a local community? Your grant providers, and as I said, that regulation piece at the top. So there's an awful lot to consider as to kind of going, well, look, we might be getting money in from one source. That might be a government or local government, or maybe it's just regular people just donating regularly, direct debits, irregular donations, or maybe, and quite often you're starting to see it now as charities have had to get a little bit smarter around this, is that you're spreading that income as much as possible. So it kind of removes any risk within that income. But then what reporting do you have to do back to those donors and income? Sometimes, as I said, with small donations, you may not need to do any, but maybe some of your large donors, grant providers, etc., you do have to report into them. And this is on top of your regulatory reporting, your charities reporting, etc. So I would always say, start with your data. Where are you at the moment as a charity? So what's your chart of accounts look like? We see quite often with charities that the chart of accounts has stretched over time. And that's purely because of the lack of analysis capability within your current systems. They've had to add more GL nominal codes in there to get some level of control on the analysis on the transactions that are going through. Some of you might be using systems where you do have an element of analysis coding, but is it broad enough to give you everything you need, or is it kind of, well, we've one or two codes we can tag against transactions, but you're still pulling information out to Excel and having to kind of manipulate it, run pivot tables, etc., to get the reporting you need. Quite often with budgets in the charity sector, whereas more and more charities are absolutely starting to use budgets, that they're having to, but they're not always able to get them into the finance system. So again, you might have a really good budget that you're working to as an organization, but it's disconnected from your financial data in terms of the reporting piece. So you're having to bring out your reporting from your finance system into Excel and then overlay those budgets into it. And then it comes to, what is your current reporting look like? Is it robust? Is it secure in terms of, like, is it in an Excel file that if someone miscodes or upsets or updates an analysis in it, it throws everything out, and you can spend hours then having to kind of dig back into that Excel sheet to find out where the error is in it. And that really kind of starts to paint the picture of kind of go, where are we? Okay, so what are your reporting requirements? As I mentioned before, it's kind of going, you have your government standard reports, Companies House, your charities commissions, etc. You might have those donors, etc. So who are you reporting to? You'll have your board meetings, your trustees, they'll be looking for certain information, and then those larger donors as well. Does your chart of accounts need an overhaul? And nearly every charity I've worked with at the 4.5 years here at AccountsIQ, the answer is invariably yes. Some may have already started that process. They know what codes just aren't fit for purpose anymore. They know what codes in there have become kind of dumping grounds because there's nowhere else to put a transaction. They'll just throw it into 1002 on the GL codes, and it'll be fine. The auditors will worry about it at the end of the year. And then how do you need to break down your reporting? So obviously you've got that SORP element or your SOFA element in there. So you need to break down by your restricted, your unrestricted, designated funds, etc. Maybe you need to break down by your donors so you can report to them. You're breaking down by the charitable activities you're doing. And then you might have broader elements. So you might departmental breakdown. Maybe you need to break down by geographical regions as well. And for those charities, quite often you see sometimes charities come to us where they'd have a charitable entity with no VAT or anything in it, but they'd also have a VATable entity, but maybe they're running some sort of taxable process, whether they might have charity shops, etc. And they need to kind of align the data structure, so your chart of accounts and your analysis across the entities, so you can bring them together. And who needs to be involved in the discussions outside of the finance team? So the finance team absolutely need to own finance data. It's really, really important. You're responsible for it. You're in charge of producing the reports, but ultimately who's going to use those reports and how are they actually going to help the organization move forward? So real kind of key considerations when you're looking at kind of just where are you at the moment. When it comes to selecting a new finance system, there's two pictures I'm about to put on the screen here that kind of really encapsulate a lot of our broader client base. So obviously we sell to more than the charity sector, but really in the charity sector, this kind of holds really, really true. So if you think of your finance function at the moment, you might find yourself, you're doing an awful lot of manual processing. And that manual processing can be everything from the reporting we've just discussed. It could be just, it's really hard, it's really tedious getting transactions into the system. I'm having to code everything in, every purchase invoice, every expense, every bank transaction into the system. Or maybe you've got a front-end system. So you find a lot of charities are using platforms like Salesforce, Microsoft as kind of CRM systems, so they can interact regularly and in the right way with their donor base. But how's that information coming into your finance system? And then those donations, that money that's coming into your organization, how is that being collected and funneled into the system? So you might be using PayPal, you might be using Stripe platforms, they might be embedded into your website, etc. But trying to tie all of that together, it can be very, very manual. As I said, you've always got that compliance and reporting piece. To a certain degree, it's out of everyone's hands. A lot of that's kind of driven by your local government, national governments as well. And then there'll be obviously the reporting, as we discussed, into your trustees, into your management team, into those donors as well. But ultimately, that leaves very little time to actually look at analysis and are we making the right decisions as an organization? Can we pull money from this activity and push it over here? Do we need more money in a particular activity? Do we need to reduce our spend? Or we're kind of tipping over our budgets from the start of the year and kind of go, we need to reduce that now, or we're going to actually run into financial issues. So everything we try to do as an organization and everything we're trying to get new clients when they come on board to do is obviously we're trying to flip that triangle. So we're trying to get you to a point where you're doing less transactional processing. Okay, so you're trying to automate as much as you can. Compliance and the reporting piece is there, but again, you're tagging transactions in the right way. The reporting does become easier, but ultimately you should always be looking to kind of reduce the manual piece and expand the time you have to make decisions as a finance team. So as I mentioned before, where are you coming from? You could be micro-cloud, mid-cloud, larger on-premise solution, or some of the older legacy platforms. Every organization, every charity has a slightly different starting point with this. So kind of going, who are the key people from your side and the key stakeholders who are going to be involved in selecting and executing the project? It is a great opportunity also to redesign the reporting, the data structures, to really kind of get up to date with all of that, but always try and keep an eye on the future as well. Don't just design for today, design for the future as well. So really important to kind of keep your structures open in terms of we can slot more GL codes in here at some point, so you don't end up in bottlenecks down the road. When it comes to kind of ensuring a successful project, then you're looking at kind of going, make sure you're going down the right direction in terms of your planning. Okay, and don't underestimate the time involved in the selection process of a new platform, but the implementation as well. And then make sure you're bringing the right people in to drive the project, okay? You want people who are, they love kind of getting to that finish line. It's really, really important, but they're also team players, so they can bring the organization along with them. It's an opportunity to redesign, not just your data structures, but also your processes. So you're trying to get to a point where you're trying to get more digitized across the organization. So things like bringing in approvals across the organization. So a lot of charities, they might have a shared file where they're ticking a cell in it from an approval perspective. They might have an expense issue where people are kind of submitting via email or an online shared form where they can drop in their expense information, but kind of giving them the right tools to make it easier for them to submit all this information, but also then for finance to operate with this information. A good partner around this should be doing all the hard stuff for you guys. So there's a training element to this, which is obviously go live critical, but you've also then got the piece of kind of going, look, we'll help you. We're there to guide you. So you're selecting a finance system partner who's going to do all of that. They're going to give you the tools to extract your data, to help kind of go, look, populate it, update it, etc. And then it's kind of going, making sure you have that relationship as well. So selecting a vendor for a finance system isn't just about, it's a one and done in terms of, look, we've selected ABC as the company, we've selected AccountsIQ as the company we're going to partner with. It's creating that kind of relationship from the get-go. So you know you're getting the right attention. You know the information you're getting, you can trust on that as you move forward. So there's kind of three areas that I would always recommend anyone changing finance system looks at. The first is that efficiency piece. So it's kind of going, how can I minimize all the manual transactions? How can I remove the human element from data from different systems having to be inputted into your finance? The second one is then starting to bring collaboration together. So can I start to produce reports, dashboards that I can share beyond the finance team? So again, the key people, department managers, your senior management team can look at the information and kind of go, right, that's what I need now. I'm reporting against my budget. I'm reporting against last year. I can maybe see a bit of a forecast as to where we're going. And then you're starting to bring the insights piece into the process as well. So the insights is kind of going, are we making the right decision? And again, you can only do that when you have all the information in, everything's being coded correctly, everybody's working on it together. So it's kind of the insights on spend is the right people have authorized the spend at any stage. The right people have authorized the release of the payments from your bank account. So bringing all of that together is really, really important. So obviously, I know this is some of the stuff from AccountsIQ, but again, this will apply to any finance system you're looking at. But kind of go, where is the automation? What are we trying to move beyond? I appreciate in the charity world, it's very rare that you actually see sales invoices being raised. It tends to be more kind of income that just needs to be recorded, either through journals, through connecting your donor systems, your CRMs, your collection platforms as well. So just getting all of that into the system as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Staff expenses. A lot of charities, you have permanent staff in an organization. Do they have out-of-pocket expenses that they're allowed to claim for? They could be kind of day-to-day transport, meetings, etc. Do they have mileage claims that they need to be able to do? You might have some of your senior team who have corporate cards, being able to link that information into our expense platform so they can claim on those, but then obviously making that easier then for all that information to flow in an approved status back into finance. You can also then roll out some of the expense platforms into your volunteer sector as well. So you might have, I always like to use the example of London Marathon, I should say, coming along. You've brought in a team of 100 people to shake the buckets around the course for the weekend. So like you could roll out a good expense app to them where they can claim their train tube tickets into London Centre for the event. Maybe they're allowed to buy a lunch and a dinner while they're there as well. And again, that streamlines everything for you. but at getting everything into your system as well. On the purchase side of it, obviously, any charity, you're always trying to control your spend. So the better the process around your purchase process, the easier it is to control that. So does the system have purchase orders? Do you need purchase orders? You might not need them now. It might be something kind of go, well, look, we're a bit behind in terms of our automation, in terms of our internal processes at the moment. So maybe we'll just go with standard purchase invoices being brought in, and we'll look to do POs at a later date. Digitizing those workflows, as I mentioned earlier. So kind of starting to move away from kind of email chains or a phone call to say, look, am I okay to buy this, or am I okay to accept this purchase invoice? Can be really, really powerful. It brings everything into the system. And again, it starts to get the right eyes on those purchases at the right time. Being able to kind of bring your supplier invoices directly into the system. A lot of platforms out there now have this capability directly or through third-party partners. But you can email your supplier invoices directly in to AccountsIQ, and then they can auto-match against your POs and create the transactions for you. But they're also stored against the transactions. And then it comes to things like being able to kind of bulk pay your suppliers when it comes time, being able to kind of do automation around kind of sending out your remittances and doing all those allocations as well. Really, really important. On the banking side of it, obviously, connecting your bank feeds, really, really important. So you can see you're not having to log into your bank to see how your bank accounts are every day. You get a number of times a day the the transactions coming straight into your bank feeds. And then you're looking to kind of what's the automation that the system can help with around that, kind of help sort and learn from the transactions, and ultimately can it reduce or remove the bank rec headache that a lot of organizations feel. On the general ledger side then is kind of go, well, what's the journaling capability? So every organization, you're going to have a number of kind of prepaid journals, you're going to have accruals. Sometimes you have deferred revenue recognition. So maybe you're a charitable organization that does a lot of training courses. So it's kind of going, we're taking a booking now, but the person isn't joining the course for another 2 months. So kind of being able to kind of automate that revenue recognition in the correct period can again save the finance team a lot of time and effort. VAT management, really, really important. So some charities have full VAT, some are operating in the partial VAT sphere, some charities have no VAT, of course. But we and most systems now have that link into HMRC for making tax digital. But you can also, in our system now, we have a nice partial VAT routine as well. So you can transact with partial VAT codes, you can report on them fully as well. As I mentioned towards the start of the call this afternoon, some of you may have multiple entities. So they could be a non-VAT and a VATable entity. Maybe you have overseas entities as well. And being able to kind of create intercompany transactions between them, again, raising invoices and they've been automatically received, or intercompany journals is really, really important. But that kind of brings in the consolidation piece as well. So there was one charity I was dealing with there late last year, and they had 7 overseas entities. But for them, being able to kind of one click consolidate everything together, do the elimination of all of that intercompany trade, but also bring all of their foreign entities back to an overall GBP position at consolidation was genuinely a little game changer for them, because that was taking them about 3 or 4 days at month end every month. And then one of the really, really key pieces around selecting a new system is kind of going forward thinking, kind of go, what's the integration capability around it? And when you look at what we offer as an organization, it's kind of going like, we can do automated file imports, we can build API connections, and we also have an in-house integrations team that can work with you on that. So it's kind of going, that's really future-proofing. I'm not just buying a system, I'm buying a cloud-based system. Obviously, because you just don't buy on-premise systems anymore. So I'm buying a cloud-based system. Cloud-based systems are constantly updated, so there's no kind of downtime for a once a month, once a quarter update. There's no costs involved in updating the systems. But then you may have a go-live integration, but you might also kind of go, do you know what? we're going to put in a CRM system 6 months' time. Will the system I'm selecting now for our new finance platform be able to integrate with that? And that's a really kind of important consideration. If it's not something you need from the get-go, is kind of going, I don't want to be caught 12, 24 months down the road looking at it and kind of going, oh, this can't actually work with the new system we've selected. And then I suppose coming down to kind of going, what's the success of the platforms you're looking at? What charities are they working with? Are any of the charities kind of in my space that I could maybe kind of reference, organize a call with, to understand how they're using a particular platform that you're looking at? And look, I'll be the first to put my hand up and say it. We're not the right platform for every charity that comes at us. And we try to be very honest with charities, because we don't want to waste your time bringing you down a process ultimately to get to a stage where we're kind of going, look, we're not the right one for you. We'd rather get to that point quicker. So really kind of that honesty, and that helps build a relationship as well with our clients. So when it comes to implementing a new finance system, there's some of the common pitfalls that we see as an organization. It's not an extensive list, but just more for kind of get you thinking. So lack of proper planning, kind of coming into it, kind of going, turning up to your first meeting with the implementation team and kind of going, right, what are we here to do? Kind of going, there's been no forward thinking on this. Also operating in a silo. Sometimes you might get if you've a large finance team, you might get 2 or 3 people who've decided we're going to change finance, but they're kind of doing it on their own. And then they get to the end of the process before go live and they bring in the rest of the team. The rest of the team going to go, hang on a second, that's not how we operate, or that's not what we need from a system. The project lead. So we always look for a project lead from the client side, but sometimes they don't have the authority that they need to have to make the decisions as they're needed during the process. So that's a really, really important one. Also, unrealistic expectations. This is, in terms of time frame, is probably the realistic one where, like we always say, 4 to 6 weeks. Typical implementation time. Giving yourself 8 weeks is building in a nice bit of buffer because unexpected things happen. But the expectation more so from the client side is that they don't have to do anything, or maybe they'll kind of go, look, I'll give this an hour every week for the next 8 weeks and it'll be fine. There is actually a lot more engagement needed. Yes, you have a scheduled call every week, but you guys ultimately know your data. You know the reporting points you get to. Your implementation team is there to help you. It's there to kind of offer suggestions, offer alternatives where they see appropriate, obviously, because they would have experience as well. But ultimately, you know what you need out of the system. And if you're not going to engage in that, the success of the project is obviously in jeopardy. Projects that don't have a kind of go live critical date at the start can obviously drift in terms of, look, we'll leave it another month. We'll leave it another month. We have seen that where they've said, you know what, our year ends December, we'll maybe go live in 3 months' time, not too pushed by it. And you're still trying to get it over the line 6 months later. So kind of just put a deadline in it, get the project done in a controlled way, and then move on with your day-to-day work. Scope creep is another important one. Obviously, you don't want to start with saying, look, we're going to do ABC, and halfway through, it's now become DEF, and towards the end, it's XYZ we're at. And that just keeps pushing out timelines as well. Obviously, the allocating time one we've discussed already there. And what are you trying to achieve? Are you just, with an older system, kind of going, it's no longer supported, and we just have to get off the on-premise one? The server's about to keel over in the corner of the office. It's not supported anymore. We just need to get to the cloud. And that's fine if that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to almost lift and shift from an on-prem, unsupported to a cloud-supported platform. That's fine. That's your goal. That's what you're trying to achieve. But a lot of charities are obviously trying to achieve more. So trying to be clear on that. And I'll talk about phasing your project as well in a couple of slides as well. And then distractions. This this can be a kind of a going down the rabbit hole scenario, but is there other projects happening in the organization that can distract or that might get preference over the finance system change? Is there a change of personnel about to happen, or maybe it becomes unplanned and project genuinely needs to be paused for a while? So just being aware of that. In terms of an onboarding process and the stages in success, these are kind of the 5 kind of key pillars that we would kind of design an implementation plan around. So the design stage, we talked a lot about it already. It's kind of go, what is your chart of accounts? What is your business intelligence, your analysis code? Who are the users that need to be set up on it? You're then going into a build stage. So this is where you start to build your environment. You'll have access to sandbox test environments. You'll start to see all of that redesigned analysis structure coming to life. And you'll start to get to test the system and also start your training within that stage as well. Go live is that key milestone date. We're starting today. We want to be live and ready on the 1st of July. That's great. We will have you there. But obviously, once you go live on any finance system, though, you're still closing out on the old system. So this is where you start to get that kind of overlap between the 2 systems. So come the 1st of July, everything dated the 1st of July is going into the new system, but you still have June invoices, June transactions that you're closing out on. And that's fine. That happens. I would always advise clients around that stage where whatever your normal kind of close routine is around your various ledgers in the old finance system, add a couple of days to it. So say it's your income, your debtors ledger, maybe that's 3 days after the month end, add another 2 or 3 days to it. Your purchase ledger, maybe that's a week, 2 weeks after month end, add another week, because you really want that close over as clean as possible. So you're not bringing over any bad information onto the new system. It's a nice clean switch. We always bring clients through a hand-holding process until they do their first month end. And that's really comforting for the finance team, I have to say. It's a regular weekly call. It goes on for about a month or so. And it just kind of gives them that level of comfort so they can kind of go, look, I know I'm talking to the implementer again next Wednesday. I have a couple of questions. Or do you know what? It's been a good week. I've no questions. Or there's something I didn't think about during the implementation that we now need to look at. And then you should be kind of closing your project, being handed over to your support team and customer account managers, etc. So I mentioned project phasing earlier on. Depending on where you are with your finance function, how well trained it is, how mature it is, and you haven't had people who just joined the organization in junior roles or that. Sometimes we see clients wanting to do it all in one go. That's absolutely fine. Everyone plans accordingly. Or sometimes clients say, do you know what? Let's do this in phases. So phase 1, as you see on the screen there, might be it's core finances on day 1. We just need to do that lift and shift off the on-prem, unsupported platform that we're on. Phase 2 then is we kind of start to look at kind of digitizing the organization. So we start to look to bring in those kind of digital approval processes into the system. And then we might move to kind of doing some sort of integration work towards the end of that, kind of let's connect up the CRM system, let's connect up our donor connection systems. So rethinking your processes, really, really important. You might have done some of this before you've selected a system, during the selection process as well, as you see potential in the system that you're selecting. But you can also kind of really roll up the sleeves and start to understand it, start to test it, start to get comfortable with it during the implementation system. So we always say, don't build a new system around old processes. Be open to change. Be open to kind of automation where you can. Reporting is a really, really important one. So you're trying to get away from kind of manually manipulating data all the time in Excel. So it's kind of go, what can I bring into the system to help with that? So it's really just kind of keep an open mind around the new system. Don't be stuck in the past as much as possible. And And I appreciate it's not always easy. And I do say that with a smile on my face. But it's kind of going, look, where's the opportunity? How can we approach this and improve the organization? And sometimes there is genuinely a little bit of fear from finance teams around this kind of go, but I'm really comfortable doing it this way. I understand it. I mightn't be able to do it if I change it. And like with the right system, the right partner, you're going to get a better process, but you're also going to get the training and the comfort to give you that kind of going, yes, I can do this. I see the benefit in it. We can never, ever, ever stress the importance of client engagement. Mentioned it already, and I'll probably keep mentioning it towards the end of the call today, but we can't help you move system if you don't help us. So really, really important. You know your organization. You know the data in it. So really prepare, okay? Clean up your data before. Close your periods as quickly as possible coming up to it. Reconcile and pay what you can in the old world. Focus on what is critical for day one. If anything, take this away from today. If you are in the middle of changing system or you're thinking of it, focus on what is critical for day one. Really, really key. Timing, probably one of the more common questions we get asked once someone has decided to partner with us, but it applies to anyone, of course, but it's kind of going, when is the best time to change? And you ask most finance people, their immediate reaction is year end. And sometimes, yes, that is the right time to change, but year end can also be fraught with a lot of work. You're doing your 12th month close off, you're doing your year end close off, you're in the process of deciding on budgets for the following year. And as soon as you do that actual physical year end, you're straight into audit prep as well. So trying to then put in a new finance system at the same time can work for some finance teams, as I said, but for a lot of finance teams, it's not the right time to do it. So just kind of go, where do you have the capacity when you look at your financial year and kind of working around that? We'd have a lot of clients, they switch end of first quarter, halfway through the year, end of the third quarter. And it's just a matter of kind of doing it, bringing over your opening balances. You can also, in our case, you can bring over historic monthly TB movements as well to give you that kind of comparative reporting. But auditors are well used to kind of go, look, they did a system change halfway through the year or 3/4 of the way through the year, and we have some data from there, some data there. It's all done within the 12-month period. You move on knowing that you're going to be trained, ready to get a full year on a new system the following year. And then sometimes you can do too much. So don't try to do it all if you don't think you can. So if there's any little doubts about kind of, oh, I really don't know if we're going to get through everything in one go, take that pressure off yourself. Focus on what is important. Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize within it. So you look at some of the kind of change success, and I'm not going to dwell on these too long, but some of the ones we've had as clients. So Artichoke Trust, they were really, really quick implementation a couple of years back. They came off Sage, but it was done in, I think it was about 2 weeks. It says 2 days in terms of they were up and running on transacting in the system, but it was about 2 weeks before they kind of closed out the project. They were that quick. Whereas Hampshire Cultural Trust had a kind of a much bigger phased implementation, where phase one was just kind of that core finances, the 23 locations that they needed to report on and break it down. And then phase two, because of the nature of their charity, they had kind of ticketing, EPOS systems and everything else that they wanted to integrate and bring that information into the system. So I suppose just to kind of summarize what makes a good project, understanding the scope and the critical success factors for the organization. Really, really good planning. Sit down with the finance team, have a look at it, share that with the senior leadership team. Maybe there's people on the trustees on the board that it needs to be shared with as well. Good communication. So set up a way of communicating with that team, with the project team, that it's not getting lost in other emails, text messages, Excel files, etc. Set up a place where you can communicate clearly and record everything around the project. giving the project the right resources. So it's not just people, but giving those people the time to do it. So maybe someone might take a bit of work away for a bit, or maybe you kind of go, look, we might reduce the level of reporting we're doing to the organization for a 2-month period while we implement the project, so everyone understands it. Getting buy-in from the users, and that's obviously the finance team, but it's the wider organization more importantly. So again, as I just mentioned, kind of go, look, the reporting might reduce, our standard reporting might reduce for the next while we implement this, etc. Choose a system that's flexible. So don't just change for the sake of changing. Choose a system that's going to get you what you want in terms of day one, but it can also grow and move with you. So going back to that piece on integrations, does the system have that integration capability that no matter what system we pick as an organization in the future, we know we can get the data from there into the finance system in the cleanest, most efficient way possible? And then choose a supplier that can advise on setup, that ensures you're getting the adoption you need out of the platform, that can guide you, is not afraid to say no to you as well sometimes, because of their own experience and what they've seen in the broader charity market. And there is another slide there, just if you're looking to learn more on that. But I think we're going to switch back now and see if we have any questions that may have come in, and I will do my best to answer them, of course.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andrew. There was lots of great insights there into how we can move on to new financial systems. It's very interesting. Thank you. And we've had some questions in the Q&A section already, so we can dive straight in.
Okay, great.
To as many as we can. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to add them in now, and we'll try and get to them as many as we can in the time that we have. And don't forget, if you'd like to upvote any question, just click on the little thumbs up and it'll tell us which ones we want to get to. But yeah, so thank you. So Andrew, how does AccountsIQ help those charities that don't know what they need?
Ooh, it's a good one to start with. Look, to be honest, I would say the quickest answer to that is jump on a call with us. We're not a pressured sales type business. As I said before, we don't sell to every client or potential client that we talk to. And I myself will happily guide you away from us if we're not the right partner for you. But there's questions I would ask in a kind of a quick 15-20 minute session that I would know fairly quickly as to where you should be going as an organization. And there's also that timing question that is kind of going, look, we don't know what we need, but we know where we are at the moment. So understanding that piece is really, really important. But it might be that, do you know what? I would suggest you need to do A, B, and C over the next 6 months before you're ready to even think about considering changing the finance system. So look, anyone wants to reach out, my contact details are on there, or sales@accountsiq.com. I'm more than happy to have that kind of zero pressure conversation. I won't be forcing you to jump on follow-up calls or anything like that. It's not the way we do business. But yeah, more than happy to do that. But yeah, it's just having those honest conversations. You also, dare I say, organizations that we're on today, Charity Digital, reach out to people there, reach out to similar charities, see what their experiences are, see what systems they're using and that. And this just kind of brings it all together for you very easily.
It's a great recommendation. Always come to us. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Yeah, I think that'd be really helpful for charities who are just a bit lost in all this.
And sorry, just on that point, it's not just charities. There's a lot of businesses out there who are a bit lost. They think they know what they want, but until you actually start the process and actually see what's out there, it's you just don't know. So yeah, just engage is what I would say.
Thank you. We've had another question from David. So David would like to know, as charities grow, they may choose to move to an ERP solution. Does AccountsIQ integrate into any ERP solutions?
Lots of them is the simple answer. I can start listing stuff off here, but yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff we integrate with. There's a lot of stuff on our website. So we have a library of pre-built integration, my culture marketplace, as some of the other platforms do. And we're adding to that all the time. But we also, I think the statistic from last year out of our entire client base, now not just charities, 63% of our new clients we did integrations for, and whether that's pre-built ones or bespoke integrations. And like people say bespoke, and you go, oh, that's expensive and it's fraught with risk, and that it's actually not. We do it in a very light touch way, but we build in the right controls around it as well, and it's always kind of backward compatible if there's any updates or that in the system.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And another question, do you recommend that organizations run legacy and new systems in parallel for a transition?
Apologies, I always smile when I hear this question. It's in my 4.5 years in the business, I've only seen 2 organizations parallel run. And whereas we don't say no to it, absolutely not. It's at your request. It's a huge amount of extra work on the finance team to be transacting in 2 systems at the same time. And it actually takes from the good of changing to a new finance system, because you're trying to transact in the old system, which are old processes. You've designed new processes, new data structures, and you're trying to transact over here, and you kind of get very, very confused very, very quickly. So in the initial conversations we have with potential clients, some of them would say this, and we'd always be open, as I have just been there around it. But as they go through an implementation, they go through their training, everyone bar those 2, and that was actually a number of years ago now, say, look, we now realize we actually don't need to. And it's just kind of building up that kind of confidence through the process. But I understand from people who've never done this before, never been involved in a system finance change, why they'd like to do it. But trust me when I say, if you pick the right partner, by the time you get to go live, you'll want to do it. It'll be done.
Brilliant. Thank you. I just have a question from my perspective. Just we did some research into what finance professionals at charities wanted to know, and a big part of that was how you talk to non-finance professionals about charity finances. And I was wondering, in the reporting side of things, can charities use AccountsIQ to sort of, how can they use it to sort of translate the more complicated side of things into a
absolutely. And it's like reporting starts with your data structure. Okay. So it's getting your data organized. Okay. Getting the data into the system in the first place, getting it organized. And then from a reporting output perspective, that you can help those non-finance people understand it, because like old school finance is, I produce a beautiful Excel report and there's columns and rows of data and everyone else, and everyone outside of finance looks at that and their eyes just glaze over and just kind of go, no, that doesn't mean anything. But show them a nice interactive dashboard. So we have dashboards in the system, but you can also link our system into the likes of Power BI and whatever. But show them a nice dashboard, and most people will understand that straight away. They understand that if a line goes up, we're doing okay. If a line goes down, we're not doing well. You put in my budget, am I above or below my budget? And that's really, really powerful, because you're making decisions quicker, and also getting that information to those people quicker. Don't be doing a month-end close and then 2 weeks later we're producing our management report pack that we share with all the senior leadership team. They should be looking at your data every day. If not every week, but definitely trying every day. Not always possible, of course, but they're looking at it and then they're interacting with it. If they're being asked to approve something as a budget holder in an organization, kind of go, well, actually, are they seeing their budgets? What's their committed spend? What have they got left to spend? So again, you're kind of pulling them into the finance function without them realizing, but ultimately it's going to make their lives easier as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And does the AccountsIQ dashboard support self-service?
At the moment, it doesn't, because we just did a major upgrade of our dashboards in Q4 last year. We do have some interesting development work going on with the dashboards around AI, but my lips are sealed at the moment, and we'll come back in H2, and I might be able to tell more at that stage. But there is some very, very exciting stuff coming down the line around that. But from a updating dashboards and that, we have a reporting services team. If it's a small tweak, we get it done very, very quickly and turn it around for you.
Thank you very much. That's all sounds very exciting as well. Lots to come.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's everything. That it's been a very thorough presentation. That's what it is. Thank you so much. It's been really,
Thank you.
thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And thank you to everyone who attended. We hope it's been a really helpful session for you. And our next event on the books is our focus group on creating robust cybersecurity on the 2nd of April. And we'll share insights on emerging cyber threats and give charities a better understanding of what cyber security protections they need. We'll pop the link in the chat. And finally, if you could share your feedback with us on today's session, that would be really fantastic. We are posting a link into the chat and that as well, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd love to know what you thought. And yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. It's been really great.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for joining, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
I enjoyed it today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.